Bam.
Yep.
All right, so I got the video right here. We'll just go ahead and just pull it.
What software are you using, Chuck?
I use a software I found called Canovia, and it
How do you
allows me
spell?
I had the disadvantage of it is I have to have the video available. I had to have the video. I have to have the video downloaded. I can't just just do it off of YouTube. But it allows me to adjust the speed. I can go, I can stop it. I can go forwards. I can go backwards, right? Pretty easily.
How do you spell that?
Kinovea. It's up there at the top, up here.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
tried to download it and it wouldn't download.
It downloads, it's shareware, so it's not like really sophisticated. But I could do side by sides. I can do draw lines and stuff on it. Unfortunately, it's not something that you guys could draw a lot. Well, technically, you could draw lines on anything using the annotate. So there is that ability. But so anyway, the advantage I have with Kellen is that I'm able to. I know what he skied like last year, or not even last year, like in April, right?
Oh, he's improved a lot.
Oh, it is stunning how much he's improved.
Yes.
So
He used to ski. His upper body followed his skis, and he's more downhill now.
yeah, yeah, cool. So tell me why. What makes you think that he's different? What is the number one thing? I mean, this compare and contrast.
Well, comparing because I knew what he skied like before, I can tell with his zipper on his jacket, he's more downhill where he used to be across the hill. And I've got a video of him someplace
Oh, I got
on
vid-
my computer, but I couldn't find it.
I got videos. Oops, that's not gonna work out well. Give me a second, I'll find it. Oh, good lord. Yeah, here's one. Now, give me a second. It might take me a second to find it. But this is from, no, that's not him. This one is from, that's me. That's Dave.
I wonder how old this video of him is.
This was like a week ago.
Oh, I see the date now. Yeah. Okay.
Where was that?
He's teaching in New Zealand.
Nice.
I guess he's coming back to Winter Park. I don't know.
Yeah, he was telling me he was still coming back.
Because I know he was talking about Aspen.
Let's see if we can get him about the same. There we go.
Yeah, see how his upper body on the right side there's following his skis.
It's kind of like, how does he initiate his skis?
On which side?
Well, both sides. Because even though one side's better overall than the other side, there's still some legacy movement.
Yeah, you could tell it's the same person.
Yeah. Yeah, we all have our style, right?
Yeah, on the right side, he's using a little bit more inclination. He's got away from it on the left. Or he's reduced it. He's using more angulation on the left. New Zealand.
All right, cool. So he's like right there. It's over a little bit so we can see him. And let's let this one play on just a little bit. And he's right there, right?
Yeah.
So that looks pretty similar.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more angulation on the knees on the left.
Yeah, I agree.
Not much, just a wee bit.
Just a little bit. Then he gets to the other side. And then let's back him up a little bit here. Because this is where the change is for me. Right? So that's pretty good there, but here is like, how do you initiate this turn on this side? And it really comes back to like right there, where he kind of does a little hip move to get the skis to go from one side to the other. And it's not the same, right?
Correct.
So he's cured that. He's more even on both sides.
Yes.
Right. So from a rotational standpoint, anybody point out see anything there? He's doing a really nice job of turning those legs now, isn't he?
Yeah. Has
He
he
tends
passed
to
his
drop
MA?
the uphill, he tends to drop the uphill arm.
Yeah, it's
And what
still
does that do?
still a little legacy there, yeah. No.
Has he passed his MA?
He passed his teach.
Okay.
Jack passed his MA. Jack went back again to a basin for more ski abuse.
What would you do to help Caleb improve here? I've
Well,
got some ideas.
he asked me very pointedly, what did you think? And I said, overall, the change is tremendous.
Yep.
And what I would like to see him work on right now is, and that's what I'm trying to lead to is, what's going on? We're talking about the rotary world, right? So this is one position right here, right? And here's the other position. What's the difference?
Show the first one again.
And this is a legacy movement, right? So he's here at this turn, at this point of the turn, that's where he's at. And when he's at this side of the turn, they look pretty even. I mean, they look the same, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this side has more inclination. Right
Yeah,
there.
they're about the same. Honestly, I think the angulation's about the same. We're talking about rotation. Where is his zipper pointed here?
Down the hill
Where's his zipper pointed here?
to the side. A little
Do you
bit.
think this side is pointed to the same side direction? Maybe the zipper isn't a very good indication.
Mm-mm.
Well,
But what he's doing is he's this side, he points his body outwards, and then he gets to this side, he does the same thing on the other side. So what kind of turn mechanics is he using? Where the body twists one way and the legs twist the other.
Counter rotation.
yep.
He's counter rotation. And the point that I made to him was, there is a counter rotation movement that is happening that is completely unnecessary and is legacy.
Why is it unnecessary?
He doesn't need to do that. If he has independent leg motion, as we talked about last week, if you have independent leg motion and they turn against each other, you don't need to flip the pelvis, which is what he's doing. He's turning the pelvis outward and he's doing it with his upper body. And that's an effort to get the skis to move from one side to the other. But I don't think he needs to do that.
So do you have a video of what it would look
Here's
like
a great example
without
right
it?
there. What is that? Right? That's the initiation of the next turn. He's releasing his skis, but where is his body pointed? Let's turn it down just a little bit. To the outside of the old turn. Then he moves to the outside of the new turn. Then he moves to the outside of the next turn. Right? He's got this great leg rotation. Use that. I haven't heard back from him about it yet, but that's what I saw. And I honestly believe that he doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. But as I said, as you and I know, Peter, the difference between what he's doing now and what he did a mere 3 months ago is like completely different.
Yes. He also, if you look at how he was a year ago, he had more bend from the waist. He's corrected that a little bit. I'd still like to see him a little bit taller.
He was more upright at the waist. He's kind of like Jack. Jack's fighting that same battle right now. He's definitely more over the skis, but I mean, this is a lot of spraying. Which way is it going?
Yeah.
Going down the hill. Now he's engaging earlier. But this is like definitely, oof. You know, he's trying to spray his girlfriend on the side of the hill there.
But a major improvement.
Major improvement. Major improvement. Cool. Any other comments on poor Kellen that we beat him up?
Well, the good things is that his skis are almost consistently parallel.
Yep.
So there is very little convergence or divergence.
Yeah, not enough to really speak of, right?
No.
Yeah, and you know, so that's a nice thing.
Yeah. The posture is good.
Yeah, his ankles are flexed.
He's doing a real good job of keeping his pelvis and his shoulders aligned. And the hands for the most part. He does drop it like that one there. He dropped and then he tries to get it back up again.
Yeah, he drops it
It's-
most of the time, the
Yeah, that
uphill.
left side
That
he drops a lot more. Like right there. That's a drop. But somebody's clearly gotten a hold of him because he drops a little bit and then he immediately brings it back up again. So it's
Yeah.
definitely some focus of his.
well, is that a cause of some of his excessive counter rotation, or is that the result?
Well, we all have legacy movements, right? So I think this is just a legacy movement it's still there. I drop my right hand a lot, especially when I'm turning from left to right. I drop my right hand. It drives me nuts. But on my left side, I always kind of doggy paw out on my left side, where I flick on this side and I doggy paw on this side. So these are weird old movements that we still have. I'll be fighting that thing forever. And it's just from smashing gates, right? Gotta get the gate out of the way, got to get the gate out of the way, right? Kind of like your boy Ron was talking about in the video was, hey, I got these, not only are we trying to make a turn now, but I'm doing a counterintuitive movement to the turn where my hand has to now reach across, which defeats us. So how do we got to do that? And that's the whole point is of that video is that, well, we'll get to that, but basically I love the way he kind of summed it up. Does everybody remember what he said when he summed it up?
No, repeat.
This is what the ideal looks like. What are you doing? Here's the ideal. Right, here's Mark from last week. And the zipper does not turn to the outside. It moves less than the legs.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, Kellen's there. He's there. He's literally there. If he's getting a counter rotation movement and getting his legs to move that way, all he's got to do is just quiet that counter rotation. And he's there. And he's going to have more leg rotation, more range of motion. More
He
leg
needs a little tweak here and there, and then mileage.
Yeah. Oh, he's got it all next winter. Right? Hopefully he'll be back. He might be like, F this skiing thing. This is like I'm tired. Cool. All right. Welcome everybody. How's everybody doing? Is it hot where you're at? If it is, and it's coming your way.
Hey, Chuck, before we get rolling,
Yeah.
have you talked to Jim Shaw recently? Is he teaching this year or training?
I talked to him like a week and a half ago. I plan on having a beer with him this next weekend. I think he's still, dude, he's a national team member, right?
Right.
He's not going anywhere. Unless, Winter Park can sometimes be stupid,
Yep.
right? But I don't think he's going anywhere as far as I know. I know he's teaching at Aspen too, which technically is sort of kind of an Altera resort. So I don't know if they're going to be, I mean, are they going to get all verklempt about him working on a resort that's basically an Altera derivative? I don't think they're actually owned by Altera. They're owned by, who is it, Warner Brothers or somebody like that?
Yeah, there's one owner that's
Okay.
Altera.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I know Larry Murdoch is planning on doing training on level 3 on Wednesdays.
He's not doing Wednesdays, is he?
That's what he told me yesterday. He said midweek. That's Wednesday to me.
Okay, I'm going to have a discussion with him about that. I need it to be Mondays. Mondays. How hard is Mondays? So it says the Aspen Ski Company is now owned by the Crown family of Chicago.
Fellow Illinoisan.
Huh?
Fellow Illinoisan.
Yeah, there you go. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I know they were owned by a long time by 20th Century Fox.
I thought the Aspen Ski Company was an owner of Volterra, one of the
I don't
stockholders.
imagine they might be.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
One of them you're right, except he wasn't owner of Alterra. He was a part owner of Alterra. He was one of a group.
What the hell? When the hell did this happen? Oh, this has got to be BS.
What's that?
Oh, this is not right. This is old. Alterra Bioresource Announces has closed a deal to purchase, well, Alterra Mountain Company. Yeah, I don't think this is true.
Who's gonna buy him?
I said that, yeah, Harry Crown is a principal owner of Alterra.
And
It's
Aspen?
privately owned by KSL Capital Partners and Harry Crown and Company, the owners of
Yeah, 'cause-
Aspen Snowmass.
Yeah, KSL used to own Alpine and Squaw.
Okay,
Is he also the owner of Aspen then?
yeah, he owns Aspen too.
Huh.
That's why they kind of honor the Alterra, not Icon Pass at Aspen. All right, that's enough of that. I just saw the bogus report about Vail buying Alterra. It's like, no, we need to have
No, Vail can't.
Did you say Vail is buying Alterra?
That's what the report I saw there. That cannot be true. That is
No.
Well, Vail has taken everything else. Why not?
I think the courts have stopped them from expanding in Colorado. Antitrust.
yeah, it doesn't say anything here about it,
But in June, Alterra Mountain just bought the resort in Idaho. That's what it's
it did
saying.
buy a resort in Idaho.
Yeah, Switzer Mountain Resort sold to Alterra Mountain, June 1st, 2023, Standpoint, Idaho.
Good. So anyway, back to the task at hand. All right, what did we go over last week? What did we talk about last time? Turn the official word on controlling the ski rotation, turning, pivoting, steering with leg rotation separate from the upper body. The technical part of that is that's the PSIA fundamental. And the skis turn about the vertical axis of the body. That is the big R rotation that we all know and love, and promptly everybody ignores because this is the one fundamental that everybody like, well, if you're doing a really good job, do we really need to be doing rotation? Right? Then let me ask you a real quick question because I wanted to ask this early on. And I'm not looking for your biases or anything like that, but what do you guys think is the most important thing you see in your students? What is the number one thing that you think you need to be working on, that the students need to be working on?
To me, it's always fore aft to start
Okay.
with.
Yeah.
Or aft for me.
Okay. Other than fore aft,
I'll
where
second
else-
that.
Other than fore aft, where else do you go? Because fore aft is a problem all the way up through level 2.
Then I go to foot.
Okay. Why?
Because that's one they struggle with. It's hard for them to
Balance on that outside
comprehend
edge?
the foot to foot.
Yeah, cool. What else? Anybody else?
Well, if you're not balanced over the downhill ski,
Mhm.
then everything goes to pot essentially.
Okay, cool. What
Well,
about
most
edging?
students-
Anybody work on edging?
Yes, but I think also most students initiate their turn by turning their hips.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, especially later on when they figure out their body's supposed to be pointing down the hill and they're still doing the hip wiggle, right? Right? Because it's easy, we know, it works. It's effective, right?
Mhm.
Well, edging kind of comes, it's a sort of a result of the mountain, because if you're flat, you're just gonna keep on sliding down, so
Yeah,
at some
yeah.
point, edging kind of is a byproduct in a way.
Yeah, so that's like the virtual bump, right? As the skis start to turn, the more the skis turn, the more edges accumulate, right? Automatically because of the hillside. So it's relatively flat at the top of the turn, but as we continue to turn through the turn, we get more and more edging. Everybody understand what the virtual bump is?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, cool.
No, what's a vertical bump?
The virtual bump, it's called the virtual bump. And the
that's
idea
a
behind
Ron
it is,
LeMaster thing, isn't it?
it's a Ron LeMaster thing. And basically it says that if you're going up over bumps, you go up over bumps like this, right? And at this point in time, the skis are flat and they run down the hill. We got like little pressure on it. But as we go back up the bump on the other side, we start to feel the pressure because gravity starts to pull us backwards. But what we're doing is we're taking that motion and now turning it on its side like this. So up here at the top of the turn, we don't feel a whole lot of friction because gravity's working with us. We're moving down the hill. Skis are flat relative to the slope. But as we turn through the turn, we turn against the slope. We get more edging. We turn the rotation on and we start to perceive more pressure, not because of gravity, because of the reaction of the snow against our skis. So Ron LeMaster coined the term virtual bump because it's like skiing a virtual bump. We no pressure at the top, get to here, we have lots of pressure, then we release as we go over the bump, we release, no pressure, more pressure. It's like we're going up and over a pump track.
Mhm.
And you're gonna see if you guys go to Tom Gelly and start looking at him, he is big time on the virtual bump. He will
Mhm.
talk about it a lot because it's kind of a really important concept to understand of how the skis interact with the snow. And by the way, Gordon's going to take over next week, and he's going to introduce us to the first concept of pressure management, pressure regulating pressure through ski snow interaction. Cool. And I'll be in Colorado, but I'll be listening along, and surely I'll be contributing too. But anyway, I'm just interested to know what everybody's working on. I know last year, for me, yeah, I'm a big rotational guy. I want the skis to point where I want to go. But I worked a lot last year on outside ski pressure and edging. But I taught a lot of bumps last year, a lot of moguls. And it's really important to be able not only to put the skis on edge, but to get the skis off of edge and manage that pressure through that, where that they could turn their skis without much edging, but still apply pressure to the outside ski because, well, frankly, if you don't have pressure on the outside ski, a lot of things go wrong. And mostly it's about alignment. It does not take much pressure on the inside ski before you ruin your alignment, before alignment goes out the window. So anybody have any ideas how much pressure you're supposed to put on the outside ski?
As much as it takes.
Yeah.
Depends on the,
Yeah,
it depends on the slope. It depends on the angle.
That
I
was
think
a
the
trick
right
question.
Oh,
the right amount.
It was a trick question. You all answered like true PSI professionals. It depends.
Um, I'm starting to think that even though they say that the fundamentals are not listed in any particular order, but
Uh,
they are listed in a particular order.
yeah, kind of, sorta. I'm, you know, it depends on who you talk to, you know, and the understanding for a lot of the upper levels, you know, kind of like Jenny is big on ski snow interaction now. Like she just discovered it this last year. Donnie's the same way. You know, Donnie, you know, Jenny was big time outside ski. Donnie was all about edging. And now they're both, you know, they're both pressure management, 100% pressure management. And I asked them why, and I go, you don't really throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yes, pressure management it's important, but it's also a result, not necessarily a control. We can't control pressure management because it's the result of and we're going to get all into that next week. We're going to start to get into it because it's kind of a complicated question or a complicated fundamental. But yeah, it's kind of a result also. So anyway, back to the task at hand. I just was curious to know where everybody was at, what they were kind of thinking, right? And I am like, whatever the student needs, but I have found myself this last year kind of definitely focusing a little bit more on outside ski pressure, definitely focusing on edging as I start to consciously explore all the fundamentals in my lessons. And that was like a particular focus I had last year was to, yeah, I understand that these things are important. Edging for me is like the least important because of the virtual bump, right? And it's something that we do instinctively already. Outside ski pressure is not something that we do instinctively. Rotation is not something we do that instinctively, but we do it in a wrong way because it's a learned motion. And frankly, nobody ever seems to lean forward, including this guy, right? You know, so it'll be the first thing I work on the beginning of the year next year will be, am I far enough forward? And I'll need video to verify that. So anyway, we point the skis where we want to go. Rotational movements would originate from different parts of the body. And I'm talking about, let's just stick with big R rotational movements because, well, we'll get into little r too. All movement of the body is rotational in nature. This is a rotation. This is a rotation. This is a rotation. Anytime we flex our knees, it's a rotation. Because frankly, a rotation is defined as rotating around a pivot point. Your knee is going to be a pivot point. As you flex your leg, your knee is a pivot, your ankle is a pivot point, your hips are a pivot point. So all rotation that we do is rotational in nature. Cool? And I call all those little rotations little r's. All right? And we have the deeper rotational concepts. These are all from the previous presentation from last year, right? Simplistic rotation, counter rotation uses a horizontal equatorial plane. We know that. Rotation requires an anchor and fulcrum. Lower body rotates relative to the upper body, and proper rotation requires that you rotate both legs against the upper body. Big R rotation. Then we have the little big R, little r. So, oops, hold on. I'm on the wrong one over here. There we go. Here was this little slide here, and you got the guy over here, and he's turning one direction, the skis are turning the other, because his legs are turning the other, right? And you guys can download this presentation and read through it if you want to. There are some notes here. What are my notes? Newton's third law of action versus reaction. You guys remember that from last week where we were talking when Ron and Dan were talking about action and reaction? In order for an action to happen, you have to have a reaction, or you have to have an action that causes a reaction. We kind of watched that with Kellen when we were watching him ski. where the action was the upper body twisting out to the outside, and the reaction was the legs twisting to the counter to the upper body. And that is the same thing. That's why I'm like, you can achieve the same thing, but you don't necessarily have to move the upper body to do that, because leg rotation is a reaction to a stable upper body. Confused? Does that make sense? Probably said that 9 ways of wrong, but that's all right. Big R leg rotation is under a stable upper body pelvis. And little r is all little rotational spiral movements our bodies make to allow alignment against forces and direct motion. And this guy's like rotating everything all the time. I love it. Who's writing on my screen? I see how you're just going to write on my screen. All right, cool. Oh, I'm writing on my screen.
Yeah.
I'm writing on my screen. All right, cool.
So,
Yeah.
Gumby, can you put your presentation on the chat so we can download it?
Yeah, I can do that. I don't know how big it is. Give me a second. Let me take a look. If it's like many, many megabytes, I might be reluctant, but it's in one of those links. It's in the
Oh,
links
okay.
it's in the links about the fundamentals. Oops.
All right, great. Thanks.
Yeah. I always share, because it's kind of nice to go back through these things and say, oh, I forgot that. It's only 820 megabytes. Is that all right? This is a big one.
I don't know.
That might be a little too much. All right, torque. This is kind of an important concept. In the best way that I've seen describes this is Ted Gelly. I was listening to him today on something about, I think it was outside ski pressure. He was talking about torque, and torque is the difference between a screwdriver, which has got like a little itty bitty head, and a wrench. And a wrench is here in how he's pulling on the wrench there. Which one do you think creates the most torque? It should be pretty obvious. So if I'm here like this and I'm standing tall, there's only so much torque I can create with my bodies up. I'm trying to do this without bending my legs, bending my knees. It's really easy. But as soon as you bend your knees, you create leverage, which allows you to turn your legs more easily. Like a wrench on a nut, if we increase torque by increasing the distance from the pivot point, and when we flex our legs, it allows us to create distance between the knee and our hip and our knee and our ankle. It allows us to use those muscles more efficiently so that we can torque the body, torque the legs. By the way, that's a really good exercise also. Talking about Kellen. He was like he's here and he's kind of like doing this.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need to do that because you don't need this part.
Yeah.
I could do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he's adding that part in. He's got the flex, but that old movement that he has, that old kind of counter movement that he has, is still available because he was using it when his legs were when he didn't have as much flex in his knees. And when you don't have much flex, you got to figure out how to add more torque. And he was using his upper body to create that torque, but he doesn't need it now. That make sense?
Yeah.
All right. This is the wrong kip part. Did you guys get this part out of it? Separation is two parts of the body doing different things to achieve this at the same time, of course, I don't have the time in there. At the same time to achieve a task. There we go. Any discussion there? I mean, all the words that he used, that was the most important thing I think we got out of it, is separation is two parts of the body doing different things at the same time to achieve a task. And he was, he kind of did this long-winded thing where he's talking about the task of, where he was talking about, patting your head while you're, doing the belly thing, rotating your hand around the belly while you're patting your head. That's two tasks. There's one task, but you have two different movements that are happening and they're contradictory. And the other example he used was when you were cross blocking a ski pole and you've been told to, you're going this way, right? You're going this way and you've been told to keep a very stable upper body, but that stable upper body is now compromised. The arm is reaching across, right? And that is, if you did it in one motion, you just go like this. But what he's saying is that this motion is not dependent on this motion. They're two separate things. So this motion is not the same. This motion is not dependent on this. You can do the same thing and still achieve the same result.
Well, of course, because you have to have the separation from the hip socket.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course,
That's,
you have to have it.
if you don't have the well, and again, what defines what this is the whole point is, what defines what separation is according to Ron Kipp?
Well, you have to be able to move the legs independently and separate from the upper body, which is the key.
Yeah, but he defines it as the legs doing one thing and the upper body doing something else, right? That's what he's saying, is that we got two parts of the body doing different things at the same time. So the upper body is not doing what the lower body is doing, and the lower body is not doing what the upper body is doing.
So I think,
dependent on each other.
yeah, separate, I mean, they could be separate, doing separate things that are not helping each other.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They could be doing separate things that are not helping each other. I mean, you could almost argue that Kellen's not helping himself by actually doing counter rotation.
Yeah.
Right? It's not useful to him anymore. He's not getting anything. It's detracting him from his ability to turn the skis more, because what's the one limiting factor in counter rotation? The degree of which you could turn against yourself, right?
Mhm.
Some point in time you stop, right? And if you're a nice and square to the hill, you have more range of motion in which to turn. Cool. What was your question, Jeff?
Yeah, if you follow his picture, instead of doing two different things, aren't they really doing two opposite things? Because the word different, I don't know. But you look at this picture and that's the opposite.
And that could be that's an argument, right? But is the opposite, are they doing two opposite things? Does that make them related or unrelated? And the argument that he was making is that cross blocking is not a related task to a related movement to the legs rotating. Right? But if you make it a related task, a related movement, that's where you lose separation. We have to almost keep the two parts separate from each other, which is why I love this idea of the separation instead of using counter. Counter to me is just a moment in time. I think they said that. Dan and Ron say that all the time. Counter is just just a point in time, like this photo right here. He's showing great counter, right? Legs are going one way, body's going the other. That's just a point in time. Counter rotation is a movement counter is a time in that movement. If you slow the rotation of the upper body and continue to make your legs move, that is lower leg movement, a lower leg rotation, but it is a flavor of counter rotation. They're both very related. I'm going to say that without prejudice. Who's over here drawing again? Killing me. Is that me? Peter had to go. Fine. Oh, you already
Yeah.
got it. Cool. Types of counter. We have rotational separation. We have floor lateral and flexional separation. I believe in the last presentation, these were counters, rotational counter and lateral counter. Lateral separation is probably more accurate. Michaela's body is pointed in a different direction than her legs are going. Right? And that allows her to have lateral separation, which allows her to have more hip and knee angulation. Which way are her legs pointed?
They're pointed across the hill and her torso is pointed down the hill.
Yeah. More or less downhill, right?
Hmm.
We don't know where the last gate was, so it's kind of hard for us. I mean, again, the other gate could have been clear over here where rotational separation is, which is why she's got like a lot of, she builds a little counter. And you'll see this a lot in racers. They build counter right at the gate. And counter, I mean, where the body will rotate away from the turn. And that's an effort to get around the gate more than it is a functional movement of the body. One of, I think, Michaela's superpowers is how she's able to keep her upper body very vertical in relation to her lower body. She creates a tremendous amount of hip angulation and allows her to resist forces. Cool. And as what Jen says, you can have rotational separation without lateral separation, but you can't have lateral separation without rotational separation. Skiing in and out of counter. Again, this is out of the, I think this is out of the separations video or javelin turns. I can't remember which. And then this is back to Dan and Ron. Separation is created by either turning the upper body against the lower body or turning the lower body against the upper body. But since it's an open skilled sport, sometimes we do a little bit of both. And that's kind of what Kellen was doing. He was turning his upper body one direction as his lower body was going the other. He was a great example for me. Very timely. This is our guy, right? Michael Rogan. In his backyard during COVID. All right, coil and uncoil. I know you guys have talked about this before. What is its importance? Why do we coil and uncoil?
It builds up the energy to be released in order to have momentum.
Yeah. What else does it do? It's also about angular momentum, isn't it? Because we have angular momentum. When we put a ball on a string, I think this, I have another video here. No, I got rid of that video. Nope, here it is. This is angular momentum. It's like a little ball on a string, right? That's how we create inclination. So coil is also about building up pressure off of that angular momentum so that we can start the turn on the other side. And I know you guys have talked about this, How many of you feel like this is really, really important? How would you, let me ask this in a different way. How would you introduce this concept to a student?
Hmm.
I think that would depend on who the student is and how much understanding they have, but this would be a very difficult concept to explain,
Yeah.
certainly to a child or someone that doesn't have a PhD in physics.
Well, I think one of the exercises that are used pretty commonly is to be able to place the poles by the hips, either connecting the poles and having the student touch the poles to either um, have more uh, energy on one hip or the other. And I would think that could perhaps be a physical feeling of torque for a student and separation at the same time.
Hmm. Okay. Tika, I've noticed that you've been talking, but we haven't heard a word you said. I don't know whether you're muted or your microphone's not working. Anybody else got any comments on this? How would you teach somebody this? It's kind of a hard concept to understand, even for,
Yes.
I mean, even for, frankly, instructors, right?
I don't know if I would teach it
Maybe not. Maybe it's too
because
highfalutin.
too technical. I'd rather get back to the ABCs about turning, little words like turning as opposed to torque energy stored in the muscle. That's bullshit. I don't think students, unless you were like, working on your level 3,
Uh-huh.
but for the average student, nah.
But one way might be if like you hook up the poles front and back so that the upper body is totally unable to move in a way in a cage.
Sure.
And then that forces you to rotate the legs without moving the upper body. The other way sometimes is if you just do away with the poles altogether, that forces you to just really move the legs as well.
Cool. Did you get yourself figured out there, TK? Yeah, you're muted too. Oh. You may have to type your answer in the chat or your question in the chat. Chat is up above in the control bar, and you can just write it in there, and I'll go ahead and repeat it to everybody. All right, cool. So yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, for me, it is. I think it's a very important concept when you start talking about performance turns, and your ability to carve and uncarve, or carve or regulate and manage pressure. It's kind of going to be difficult for us to teach to our students and have the correct language. I like the idea, Jeff, that you just don't do it or we stay away from it. I'm interested to know. Oh, AJ disappeared on us. I'm interested to know if AJ would have had any interest in that, in adding on. Um, but yeah, coil is kind of like one of those things that we need to understand what happens because it does allow us to make early turns if we meter it right, or we can hang on to it or reduce the amount of or not allow the skis to right themselves early in the turn, because that's kind of important when you get to the higher levels. You need to be able to pressure first, then edge, and then allow to rotate as needed, is what Jenny used to say, that order of operations. Otherwise, as you release your skis, they automatically want to turn down the hill, which isn't always a good thing, right? We don't necessarily want our skis to go downhill. We want them to tip, pressure, and then start to turn in. I know I had something else I wanted to say about coil, and I don't remember what it was. Maybe I got it down here in my notes. All right. Tension. I like to call it tension. All right. Here is another concept too. This one's a big one on Tom Gelly. And I know I did this one last year. Here's another stand-up exercise that's really fun. And he was doing it in one-legged pistol squats. So he's like, if you turn your stand on one leg and you turn the leg that you've lifted outwards, and then you try to do a one-legged pistol squat, it's like really, really hard. But as soon as you turn it in, it gets a lot easier. And I'm not going to do a pistol squat because I fear for my life. But the point is that inward rotation allows the body to create a more stronger structure, because it's almost like using both legs. So when you get to skiers, really good skiers like Riley here, I mean, if we stopped him at any point in time, you'll notice that the inside ski is not quite as angulated, doesn't quite match the outside ski. That's because he's allowing those thighs to kind of inwardly rotate against each other. If we rotate the femurs away from each other, that robs us of balance, mobility, and strength.
All right. I'm not understanding this because the femurs are actually rotating in different directions if
They
we're
are,
moving
but
in the same direction.
what he's saying is that they don't necessarily, hold on. I have a video and I can't access it right now. Hold on.
Because I'd like to see a demo of just putting our femurs toward one another. I'm not sure what he means.
Oh, here we go. All right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they're away from each other. One
Yeah,
is going this way, it's like windshield wipers. They're not going in the same
exactly.
direction. They're going in opposite directions.
Yeah, that's actually, TK, that's a really, really good point. He finally was able to send something. He was mentioning in golfing. I don't know how many of you are huge golfers. I know Jeff slaps at the ball.
Slaps.
He plays at golf.
And skiing.
But it's the same way in golf, is that we're creating coil, right? The best golfers have a really, really stable upper body, under lower legs. Matter of fact, when I was working with kids, I taught them to block their knees out, because you could create resistance against your lower body, which creates more power. And if you have a body, if you just go ahead and just kind of go with the shot, you would kind of lose your ability to maintain your balance. And then you got to move all this stuff back in order to get to the ball. If you create a nice, firm, stable, powerful lower body, you could turn against the lower body. And then all the lower body has to do is move laterally as the upper body rotates. It's the same in skiing, except the opposite. You're creating a very, very strong and stable upper body, which moves laterally as the legs rotate underneath it. Very good point. Thank you for bringing it up. I love that idea. Does that create a picture for everybody?
Mhm.
All right,
Mhm.
hold on. I got a video. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Where is my guy? Gotta find it. This it? Yeah, cool. This is it. All right, groovy. What happened to it? There it is. Bam. All right. So when he gets to this position right here, are both the shins at the same angle?
I'd say yes.
You think so?
I don't think so.
The shins,
The shins are not at the same angle.
hold on, I
Right.
gotta blow this up.
One shin is like this and one shin is like this.
Okay,
Because what he's doing is he's inwardly rotating the inside leg against the outside leg. Because at some point in time, when you're dragging your hip across the ground, you know, when you guys are always doing that, right? When you're
Mhm.
dragging your hip across the ground, you need to be able to get back out of it again. You need the strength to do it. And that really it will start with the inside leg. You have to have it in position where you can do it. If he was just continuing to drop the inside knee in, he would lose stability.
Can you go back to that one before this?
So he's like right there. The knees are almost knocked. And this is
Yeah.
Riley, right? This is not some happy-go-lucky nobody. This is actually one of the top technical skiers in the world.
Mm.
Mhm.
And
But if
right
you go
there,
back to
the shins are even. But when he reaches this point right here, the two legs are not matching anymore. And there's a reason for that. And Tom Gelly was using the pistol squat idea as, there's a great look of how that one shin is way different than the other shin.
Mhm.
And you notice how far apart his feet are in order to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Now he's definitely a knee rubber. He loves to keep those legs together because it's a great picture.
Hmm.
He's like, if Richie Berger's the same way, right? It just looked like they got their legs just absolutely plastered together all the time. But when they need separation between the feet, they will do that.
so by him saying in opposition, that seems like they're going in opposite directions,
Yeah.
but they're more complementary.
Yeah. So, doing a
That's
lot
a
of
good
yoga like
term.
doing a lot of yoga like I do, that we talk about the eagle pose where you have eagle legs, where you have one leg raped over the other. It's a very, very strong position for us to get into, even though you're literally just balancing on one leg. You feel very, very strong because you have two forces that are turning against each other.
Yeah, I think complementary is a perfect term.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's when they rotate away from each other. And I've tried this in yoga too, and it doesn't work.
Mhm.
It just doesn't work. It's very, very difficult because now you're literally, when you have one leg rotating into the other, helps stabilize both legs. When you have one that's rotating against each other, now you're forcing the one leg to stabilize itself, and it's damned difficult.
Mhm.
So yeah, we'll see times like right here where we're looking at a skier like, oh yeah, he's not maintaining his edge angles the same on both sides. It's like, come on. There's a reason why. When you're dragging that far down, yeah. is different. That makes sense, everybody?
Yeah.
Cool. I know that was an important point I wanted to get across. Is there anything else here? Okay, you guys can go ahead and look through this thing if you want to see. Anybody want to talk about rotation affecting angulation or inclination or fore aft? Go ahead and look at them, that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about that all day. I prefer to look at videos and to go through so many words. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Okay. So, bam, saved. Feel free to download. Let's look at some skiers. And here is, no. Here's a friend of mine skiing in Breckenridge. Short turns. This is at the top of that. What's the name of that one really steep one? The steep lift. I can't remember.
The Imperial, you're talking about the
Imperial.
Imperial?
Imperial lift, yeah, at the top of the Imperial lift. I could pick on him because he's an all three candidate too.
Pretty crowded.
It is crowded, yeah. So here we go. So with rotation in mind, what's going on? And we could talk about other skills as they relate to rotation. Either effectively, it affects rotation, or rotation affects it.
I think he's doing a very good job of rotation and separating the femurs from the
Mhm.
hips and the upper body. I think his upper body is quiet, and I think that he's doing a good job at rotation. There looks like a little divergence in the back of the tail of the ski sometimes.
Mhm.
Um,
That's a little side view there.
mhm.
He's rushing the end of the turn a little bit.
Okay. What makes you say that? That's kind of leading into pressure management, which is fine. Where does the ski engage? Where does it not engage? Or where is it
It sort of
disengage?
engages mid-turn and then he kind of has to push them a little bit, like right there at the end of the turn.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of washing out of the ski.
Cool.
It looks like to me.
Yeah, where would you, let's just kind of pick through it. Where is his, well, let's just start with rotation. Where is the rotation originating from?
It looks like it's originating from the hip to me.
Okay. Anybody else? Is this leg rotation or is this upper body rotation? Is this counter rotation? Is this outside agency? Is it a mixture? It could be all of them, right? I mean, at one point in time or another.
I think his legs are rotating.
Yeah.
You could see that pretty clearly, you know, from the back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a little bit of total body rotation, but by and large, you could see his legs rotating more than the upper body.
Cool. So you're creating enough torque? I think he's flexed enough to create enough torque. All right. Let's go through the other fundamentals. Fore aft. Where is he at in the fore aft?
He probably could be more forward flexed.
Where?
At the beginning of the turn.
So as he gets closer here, we'll be able to see, right? He gets right about there. That's the end of the turn. Where's he flexed most at?
The hip,
Yeah, right.
he's more flexed at the hip than the ankle.
So this is the initiation. Where's his body position at?
It's following the skis.
Well, yeah, that's in terms of rotation. In terms of fore aft, where is his body right now?
More aft than it is fore.
Yeah. So what part of the ski is he using?
He's
The-
using the tail,
Yeah,
which is why it looks at some point in his turn here, it looks like the tails are washing out. To me,
yeah.
it looks that way here.
Yeah, the spray seems to be coming more from the back than the front,
Cool.
although not consistently.
Not consistently, right?
Yeah, like right there, the tips are not engaged. But you know, this terrain, it might also be terrain related because this is one hell of a trail.
Yeah. This is steep booger, right? Very steep booger. So does this make him offensive or defensive? Because now we're kind of looking at him in terms of his motivation.
He looks comfortable. And then again, having all those snowboarders around, I think would scare the shit out of me.
I'd be pretty defensive. Steep and snowboarders.
He looks pretty defensive to me.
Yeah. Is this the groom part? I think it's called pica or something.
No, this one had small little bumps that day. You can kind of see, you can't really see up here at the top. We're just a little bit short of the top. Up there, he took video of me and then I took some video of him. So right up there where they're at actually is, he took some video of me just at the top of the lift. But this is like a little bit of broken snow, right?
Yeah. I mean, given the proximity of the other skiers, I would be defensive because, I mean, look at this. This guy is like crossing right in front of him.
Yeah.
And looking at them.
So let's move on in our fundamentals. What about foot to foot?
There are times when he's lifting the inside ski, so
I mean, like right there.
yeah.
I don't see anything here that really bothers me as far as foot to foot, right?
Well, if he's lifting his inside ski, then you know at least that he's on the outside ski.
Yeah. Gotta get away from the scraper.
He has consistent speed control,
He does.
although,
I mean,
so,
it could be argued that it's all speed control, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And I see this snowboarder sat down.
Oh, yeah, he did a jump. That's what they do, right? They do a jump, they aim their ski downhill, they do a jump, they fall on their butts, and then they slide for a little while. That's what snowboarders do. I shouldn't say that. Some
I'm
of
with you.
They're scrapers, we're plankers. We're rude and old, and they're young and rude. So edging, is it consistent? I mean, if you're looking at ski outcome, the ski outcome is supposed to be progressively tip both skis at the same time throughout the turn. And tipping is also untipping. And they both look like they're tipping together.
Yeah, I think he's doing a good job,
Yeah, cool.
especially if it's bumpy and steep.
Yes,
So,
I agree.
yeah. So we only have one fundamental left, and that is the application of all the skills. So let's look at him from terms of first, we're going to look at him in terms of because I agree with all of you. I think he's tipping well. He's definitely getting outside ski pressure. I'd like to see him a little bit further forward at the end of the beginning of the turn by flexing his knee less and his hip less. I think he's sitting back here, which is robbing him of the ability because he never really gets pressure to the tip of the ski at initiation. So by the time he gets to this position, that's when the engagement, he engages after the fall line, and then it's kind of a full on ski skid. And most of this most of the spray is off the back of the ski before it becomes all across the whole ski. That's like a perfect example of it right there. All right. Back of the ski, look, the tip's not even on the ground, then it's the whole ski. As he bends the ski, he does the same thing on this side. All right. Tip, tail of the ski, then the tip. Tail of the ski, then the tip.
The tips are practically floating.
They are, and I believe that's most of that is from his failure to get out over the tips of the skis.
Well, but is it also that he has a lot of reverse camber? Depends on the kind of ski he has.
No, his ski, I guarantee you, they're head skis, and they're like a race carve ski.
Well, to do a race car
it
ski
really
on that terrain
becomes-
is also
So it really
challenging.
yeah, it really comes to the order of operations. Is he edging before he rotates? Because it's flat, and then all of a sudden, what happens? Oop, right there. Skis untwist quickly. And he never establishes an edge or an outside ski pressure until there. And then it's just full on. So all the pressure is happening at the end of the turn. So what's the order of operations here? He's already twisting as he's releasing. So he hasn't really managed the torque. And if you look, he's going up, In terms of up, I mean up, like vertically. And then when that happens, the skis almost release instinctively. Very, very hard to maintain coil when your legs straighten out. And then there's a lot of twist. And he's getting pressure to the outside ski because you can see it. There's a long leg, short leg relationship, right? As they exchange. But the ski's already twisted around. And then it's like, bam, there it is. And he ran into a bump there. So it was a very short turn, right? It got a little reaction. And then the ski's twisting already, right? Where's the angulation on the outside leg, on the outside foot? To maintain that pressure, to maintain the edging. Bam, there's all the pressure again. So all the ingredients are there. He just needs to work on timing. When
So
it's
it's
to happen.
the dirt.
The dirt and the order of operations, right? Again, look at the big twist. I've done my turn, now I'm going to go to the other side, right? So it's almost like he's just doing skid turn to skid turn. Skid, turn. Skid, turn. And even though he looks better than everybody else in his Kermit suit, I would put this in the defensive category. Cool. It's 8:30. I think we're done for the day. Any questions? Any last questions? Oops, I got some chats here. There is a little bit of counter rotation, yeah. It's not bad. He really, and I'll say that it's not really much counter rotation because he tries to use a blocking pole plant like right there to kind of help him start a little rotation. So it looks like the upper body's nice and firm. I can't really knock him for it because this should be a pull touch. And instead it is a block. And see how the body kind of twists around the ski? So he's definitely using a little bit of outside agency. But
Would
it's
you also
not
say
enough.
would you also say that the blocking pole plant might be necessary to stabilize him due to the pitch and
Yeah.
the terrain?
Because he's doing everything he can not to square up.
Right.
And this is something that he uses as a way to help him because he's got right here. That is very, very good posture.
Yeah.
Hips are aligned to the shoulders and bodies looking down the hill. Skis are pointed in a different direction than the body. But if he kept going, he would have a hard time starting the other turn because he'd square up. So what does he use? He uses a little blocking pole plant to kind of sort of start the, well, that one's a lot more so than all the rest. But he's using the pole plant to help him kind of start the rotation. Because remember, what's the number one thing you need to have on rotation? You have to have something to rotate against.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have anything to rotate against, you'll find something to rotate against. Whether it's your upper body or a pole plant or the skis themselves. But it's about 90% leg rotation. We just like to see him change the order of operations. Get
I
off
wouldn't
the
mind
outside
skiing
sooner.
like that on that terrain with those kind of conditions.
Yeah, I get it. I 100% agree. I'd show you my run, but it was on a much, much bumpier terrain. And it was my first day on skis in like almost 3 weeks, so it was not pretty. And he just took me straight up the Imperial Lift. "Oh, let's just go up straight up the Imperial Lift." I was like, oh, good Lord. All right, cool. Any other questions? Any other comments?
No, thank you, thank you,
No.
thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll
You-
see
good
you guys
night.
next week too. And yeah, like I said, Gordon's gonna take it over. And he's gonna talk to us about